recently announced deal was ticker FTIV, Perella Weinberg. Can you give us kind of the thesis behind that deal and what investors can have to look forward to after that merger?
Yeah, Perella Deal is a very strong company with a strong brand name with operations across the US and Europe that focuses on independent mergers and acquisition advice for companies. We think that we're at the beginning of a new M&A cycle as well as continuing a restructuring cycle. So it's a unique time for people to invest in an independent advisor. We think that the company is extremely well positioned because of its size to outperform. We think the management team is tremendous, that Peter Weinberg, who had a significant role at Goldman Sachs before forming Perella Weinberg, and the team that really started this out, and the team that they've grown, because they have 55 strong partners from all over Wall Street that have banded together to really form a very entrepreneurial and unique culture for an independent advisor. We think that they can drive growth and drive the creation of a wealth both for themselves as shareholders and for outside shareholders. We're excited to participate.
All right, I'm going to jump in here and talk about one that's been on my radar here. So FTAC with Payoneer. And one of the things that's going to stand out to me, and let me go ahead and get this to my right screen here. All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll pull up here. It's the compelling relative valuation. One of the things that I'm focusing on is revenue multiples here compared to, let's say, a PayPal, Bill.com, Square. Can you explain how Payoneer really has the advantage here in their revenue multiple and how the growth in the long run, and we're seeing here growth mentioned here, 25% for 2022. How's that going to compare in the long term with these kind of giants in the industry for a long time here?
Well, I mean, I think that, you're seeing the growth that's along the line of the more direct payments groups. One of the things is that Payoneer has invested heavily in building infrastructure for doing global payments. And that's not really cheap. That's not, one of the nice things about payments, if it's focused on the sort of processing and customer acquisition, merchant acquiring that PayPal, well, really Adyen and Square really are doing, or if it's focused on the repeat business that, Bill.com and PayPal are really focused on, it really is something that has a high gross margin, which is a great business. I mean, if you're making 60 to 70 cents of every dollar, before overhead charges, and then you can manage that on a relatively, manageable overhead, you have a great business. Payoneer is at an earlier point in its cycle. It's continuing to grow revenue extremely well, while it's absorbing the infrastructure and the moats that it's built, in order to do that, because international payments and the type of B2B and B2B2C payments that Payoneer is really doing is a fantastic growth area that should outperform lots of other fantastic growth areas. They service very profitable clients, and they have a wide range of services that they really can expand to service those clients, as well as the ability right now to continue growing, absorbing the overhead, continuing with a high gross margin, but then really producing real profits going forward. So that's why we're so excited about the company and the inflection point that they're at now. We think that as a public company, it should be able to acquire and grow very nicely, and that it should, be a long-term winner in a segment that continues to do well, where they will continue to innovate, continue to service their, international group of clients.
Yeah, it's one thing that I've noticed that, how fast really the pandemic has changed our digital transformation. I'm sure that's something that you noticed definitely got pushed forward, and maybe the reason why so many SPACs are coming out is really that push into digital and that transformation. Is this kind of what you're seeing out there? Are you still seeing this massive transformation into digital?
Yeah, I think we see it accelerating in a lot of ways and just continuing. User acceptance is, getting greater and greater and greater. Payoneer is one of the elements that as people move towards a totally digital international payment systems, will really be in a fantastic position to move forward.
MetroMile was one that stood out too. You mentioned the insurance side of things. So this was a deal that also, Chamath Palihapitiya was part of that pipe. Mark Cuban is an investor in MetroMile. They've both talked about that company being a disruptor in the insurance market. Chamath said it's his version of Geico that Warren Buffett had. Can you walk us through, MetroMile going forward? How big of a disruptor is it going to be in insurance?
Look, I think it's an enormous disruptor, but it's a company that's also owned by some very strong insurance people. We've invested billions of dollars in traditional insurance companies over a long time. Hudson Structured is also a fund that has a significant investment in the company and has had a tremendously positive influence on the company moving forward. So it's not just a disruptor. Like, there are a number of disruptors in insurance, and some that are, fantastic. Like, we have incredible respect for, Asaf Wand at Hippo. But MetroMile, we think, is the company that it can continue to grow, and it's going to change the way people do auto insurance and benefit those people who drive less and drive better, because it's going to charge by the mile based on your own individual risk. And right now it's started off, I think it's in 10 or so states. It should be nationwide by the end of 2022. From a financial point of view, it's a great situation. It's what financial technology is all about. It's about making more money for the institution while saving more money for the customer by doing it in a much more efficient way. It also has a fantastic suite of, loss adjustment services that it's also going to be able to sell to insurance companies. So we think it's going to actually not just revolutionize its own experience, but also revolutionize loss adjustment in a number of other insurance companies with which it already has strong relationships.
Perfect. So, we saw the SPAC market really became a trending topic in 2020 with, the large number going public this route. But you've been in this game, for years before that too. So I just wanted to back up, and some of those deals that you got done before the big trend came in. So like International Money Express, that's IMXI, getting done in 2018. What's the thesis there, and what can investors look for, in this former SPAC?
Look, that is a company that is cheap, right? It's a company that's growing nicely. And the nice thing about growing companies is that they represent good value after a couple of years. It's a well-run company that's focused on a money transfer industry that's not going away, primarily to, Latin America as well as to Africa. It continues to grow and provide services to its clients by providing better services using electronic, but not necessarily electronic for customer acquisition, but innovating the actual process of what it's doing. And it's gaining market share from those people who are just not serving the customer particularly well. So just like, Southwest Airlines, by offering routes that people want to fly on and offering them cheaper based on a better organizational experience, is able to make a lot of money. So is International Money Express. The CEO is fantastic. Management is fantastic. Their results have been fantastic, and it's cheap at its current price.